Chapter 6.
Alice was accustomed to witnessing unusual things. Many mornings, she'd envisioned events before most folks completed their breakfast. A vision of relocating to Forks had prompted them to pack everything into boxes and journey westward. In her visions, there was always this man. Tan skin, vivid green eyes, round spectacles. He seemed to peer back at her in every vision. Alice felt compelled to discover his identity and what he knew. Perhaps he was similar to her, she mused, or maybe more akin to the human she once was. Encountering Harry for the first time in the bakery, Alice found him to be singularly unique, a trait she found endearing. His company delighted her, and he appeared to enjoy her presence equally. As her visions depicted their families forging connections, she gently maneuvered them together. Esme relished having company, and Jasper was content following Alice's lead. Even Rose and Edward embraced the act, entertaining themselves with the image of being an ideal family. Then arrived Bella, as sudden as a bolt of lightning. The school buzzed with excitement, and at home, they counted down until her arrival, speculating about her nature. Edward pondered whether he'd pierce her thoughts, given that both Charlie and Harry seemed to possess some kind of mental shield. It was almost amusing how Edward sometimes forgot Bella wasn't Harry and Charlie's biological daughter. His open-mindedness was surprising at times, yet occasionally they joked about the metaphorical stick in his demeanor. After Bella's inaugural day at school, Edward relayed that her mind was unexpectedly silent, far exceeding his expectations. He appeared satisfied simply watching her, losing himself in her quietness every opportunity he had. He resumed hunting nightly, citing an unusual allure to her aroma whenever she wasn't donning one of Harry's masking corks. Only Alice seemed to detect that Edward often returned with eyes as dark as before. She found it entertaining to observe Edward's wavering decisions throughout long morning hours, anticipating a future where he would ultimately choose Bella. A month into Bella's stay, two visions materialized as Alice waited for the Swans to finish their breakfast. One showed Bella, radiant, sparkling, joyous. The other depicted Edward, his eyes and lips a startling crimson, paralyzed by fear as Harry wielded a stick. "Oh my God!" Alice gasped in her empty vehicle. She recognized the stick. It seemed to follow Harry around, almost with a life of its own. She'd seen it being left behind only to mysteriously reappear in the pocket of Harry's hoodie, ensconced in silver. Determined to learn about the stick, Alice decided to question Harry and awaited a vision. Harry was seen responding, tying his hair into a bun. "It's an old piece of elder. You know how I am with my trees. But it's more than that. I've witnessed its significance. Is it magical?" Alice was seen inquiring in her vision. "Magic exists here in the woods, down at La Push, and within your family too. It's a remarkable reality." "Can you wield magic with it?" Alice would say, as Harry's eyes widened, breath shaky, and hands grasping at air. His hair appeared to levitate around him like a halo. "Alice." Bella was stumbling towards the vehicle, shoes barely on her feet. "Alice, you must help me. Harry's having some kind of seizure." The porch light flickered incessantly. Alice dashed into the kitchen. Bella remembered a classmate at Arizona High who had epilepsy. She vividly recalled the time she witnessed the girl collapsing, quivering, with foaming lips, uttering strange guttural sounds. Confronted by fear and ignorance then, she had watched while the girl's friend acted decisively. Later, Bella educated herself, realizing that some people fall prey to their minds in bewildering ways. Charlie had confided, "Harry sometimes experiences fits, but he's improved recently. He's safe, don't worry." But Charlie had not described how Harry would unpredictably drop things and moan. He hadn't warned about the man's eyes glowing as though charged with some inner energy. Bella exhaled in relief upon spotting Alice in the driveway. Her friend quickly aided Harry to the sofa and tidied up in the kitchen, all the while conversing on her mobile. Bella found herself gently escorted from the house, content to wait. When Edward Cullen arrived in his silver Volvo, requesting her to join him, he struck her as superhero-like. The turtleneck he wore prompted musings of spandex underneath, ready to transform into someone extraordinary. "Why not wear the necklace Harry gifted to you?" Edward suggested, holding the car door closed. "I'll wait." A sleek Mercedes soon rolled up, and a woman emerged through the mist. "You must be Bella. I've heard an abundance about you," she stated warmly. "I'm Esme Cullen. I'll stay with Harry while you attend school." "Have no worries, dear." Bella couldn't recall the last time anyone had gently patted her cheek. Esme's touch was as cool as the rain outside. Alice soon appeared, handing Bella the cork necklace she typically discarded upon reaching home. "It suits you," Alice noted. Then, the pair entered Charlie's abode. At school, Bella realized she'd forgotten her jacket. Ever the gentleman, Edward handed her his. It bore the comforting aroma of cinnamon and elderflower, reminiscent of Grandma Marie's kitchen, and she had to roll up the sleeves twice for a snug fit. It was, undoubtedly, the most peculiar morning of Bella's life. She paid no mind to the fashion curiosity her wearing Edward's attire might stir. Charlie had instilled in her the wisdom of prioritizing things beyond small-town rumors. Throughout math class, her worry for Harry lingered, as she chewed her nails relentlessly. She wasn't quite ready to independently tackle all life's challenges. Nevertheless, things gradually returned to their routine, except for Edward now consistently serving as her daily ride to school. Pity for her neglected truck almost crept in as it sat idle in the driveway. Once more, Bella found herself feeling far from prepared to tackle the slick, rain-drenched roads of Forks, especially with the glistening ice reflecting the early morning's fragmented sunlight. On this particular morning, she was immensely relieved to not be behind the wheel. Edward, as was his habit, kicked off the conversation with a novel series of peculiar questions. They had progressed from talking about musical preferences to revisiting the memories of Bella's youth. It bore a resemblance to therapy, or at least what Bella envisioned therapy might resemble, like the scenes she'd witnessed on television, with someone reclining and discussing parental issues. "I really do love my mother," she declared, partly to be contrary. "How about Esme? Charlie mentioned she and Harry get along well." "Hard not to like Harry," Edward replied, glancing at her with a smile. "They'll surely resume their usual gatherings soon." Upon reaching the parking lot, Edward hurried indoors as he always seemed eager to escape even the faintest hint of sunlight. Bella strode over to meet Jessica, intending to swap Spanish homework for trigonometry assignments. Jessica was quick to agree, but her attention swiftly shifted as soon as Mike approached. Sighing, Bella took their books and settled at a nearby picnic table, now free of frost. Just as she was about to nail down the second trigonometry problem, she was startled by a shout. Looking up, she saw Eric's white Benz skidding on the icy surface. Despite his slow speed, a crash was inevitable, as if a powerful magnet pulled the vehicle forward. Bella tracked the van's trajectory with dread. It would graze Jessica's car before careening toward the curb, straight at her. She was immobilized, her heart lodged in her throat. She managed to see Jessica push Mike aside, and her friend tumble to the ground. The cacophony was the worst. Metal grating against metal, cries of distress, the sound of glass shattering. The van halted precariously near the curb, quivered momentarily, then settled with a crash. For a split second, silence enveloped everything. The tumult of screams reached her ears. The air carried an acrid scent, reminiscent of blood, and Bella fought the urge to retch. But still, her legs would not obey her command to move. "Let's get indoors," Edward's calming voice murmured near her. She wanted to bring up Jessica and Mike, but her helplessness was suffocating. When Edward placed her down by the cafeteria, she spat into the frost-rimmed grass. "An ambulance is on the way. Jessica, Mike, and Tyler will be fine. Keep calm, breathe, Bella." You need to breathe. Blinking up at him, she realized she hadn't registered sitting down. I want to go home, she murmured, her voice so soft it was a wonder he heard her. Charlie will be busy with accident reports, but we can stop by the bakery, Edward suggested. Oddly enough, the thought brought comfort to her, imagining Harry with his oversized sweaters and tendency to misplace his shoes. All right, Bella whispered, focusing solely on the rhythm of her breathing. When Charlie spoke of having a companion, Bella had never envisioned being held as she cried. He traced gentle circles on her back, humming a tune she remembered from childhood. I see the moon, and the moon sees me. Let its light illuminate the one I cherish. Upon meeting Harry, Bella's expectations were different. Potted peonies on the porch hadn't crossed her mind. Nor had she imagined how secure he would make her feel, even with his slender build and evasive gaze. Magic's at work here, he murmured soothingly into her hair, rocking her gently. Like the moon's light, fierce but generous. Just wait and see, Bella. Trust me. That was Harry for you, his words spilling out like an unchecked stream of consciousness. Bella understood he wasn't entirely sound of mind, yet when he voiced his truths, she listened. A week later, Mike and Tyler returned to school with minor injuries, scrapes and bruises. However, Jessica had changed. Her head had been shaved, though she paid no mind. She shuffled between classes, sunglasses shielding her eyes, body language withdrawn. Rejecting Mike's offer to the dance provoked a scream. I don't want your pity. Is that what happened to Harry? Bella queried Edward softly on their way home. Despite her whisper, she knew the Cullens would hear. He always took time to ponder before responding. It wouldn't be my place to share such a story, even if I knew, Edward answered as they arrived at her driveway. Harry's situation is more nuanced. Jessica's a simple case of head trauma. People aren't cast aside just because they don't fit your usual expectations, Bella. That isn't what I meant, she countered. Edward's fingertips brushed over her hand gently. Jessica needs to find her footing again. Valedictorian or not, she'll have an interesting story someday. Humans are remarkably resilient. His smile was contagious, and Bella smiled back. Being around him always felt so natural. You speak of humans as if you aren't one of them. Their shared laughter resonated easily. The bonfire sizzled and popped like a disgruntled feline. This is where the Cullens never venture, the Quillut boy recounted with an air of authority, as if echoing lines from a script or sacred text. Pretty eerie, Laura giggled, batting her lashes rather foolishly. You must know some real ghost stories. Bella sighed, rising to explore the beach. She collected smooth stones and dabbed her fingers in tide pools. As she wandered to the forest's edge, she skimmed her hands over the mossy trees, striving to hear the voices Harry claimed resided in the ocean breeze and woodland echoes. With Harry so fervent in his beliefs, Bella found herself willing to embrace the idea of magic too. Acknowledgements * thank you to Ex Livrera for assisting with logistics, posting, formatting, research, and correcting typos. Words cannot express my gratitude for all the support from my readers, reviewers, and the silent encouragers. Your love for Charlie is deeply appreciated. Never before have I completed a story with such speed.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!